Hey guys, we have all seen how Portugal has performed in this edition of the World Cup. Their performance was not at all up to par. They have underperformed, but keeping in mind World Cups, let's take a flashback and let's start the story at 1966 when Portugal basically made their debut on the world stage. Why was 1966 a very important phase or a very important year in Portugal's national football legacy is because they, in the group stages, beat Brazil 3-1. And Brazil, mind you, they were the world champions, the defending champions at that time. 1958 World Cup, 1962 World Cup, both were won by Brazil. And Portugal came out of the blue, out of nowhere, and just beat Brazil just like that. Their star Eusebio, that guy scored 4 goals in a 5-3 comeback against North Korea. This was one of the best individual performance that you can see at a World Cup level. They eventually finished third in 1966 World Cup, lost to England 2-1 in the semis, and England actually won the World Cup in that edition. In that historic match against North Korea, Portugal was down 3-0 by the 25th minute. Eusebio scored 4 goals by the 59th minute and made the score 4-3. Jose Augusto scored the 5th one by the 80th minute and made it 5-3. That was a monumentous comeback and one of the biggest matches in Portugal's national team legacy. Okay, so moving on from 1966, there was a long absence for Portugal's World Cup appearance, and the absence was Real Madrid for our Olympics. They returned to the world stage despite producing a lot of talents in this span of 20 years. They did not appear in the World Cups. After 1986, there was again a long absence, and they returned to the world stage in 2002, where basically Luis Figo was leading from the front, and that was the start of the golden generation of Portugal's national level football. But sadly, in 2002, they made a group stage exit. The build up to the World Cup was huge, but the performance was really subpar. 2006 was way better. Luis Felipe Scolari, he basically led the team to a 4th place finish. They eventually lost out to France, but their performance was way better, and this was their best performance at the World Cup since 1966. 2006 saw the retirement of Luis Figo, the leader of Portugal's golden generation. His final match was the 3rd place playoff against Germany, which Portugal actually lost 3-1. In that very World Cup, there was the rise of Cristiano Ronaldo, who would actually go on to become Portugal's greatest player ever. Okay, so moving on from 1966, there was a long absence for Portugal's World Cup appearance, and the absence was Real Madrid for our Olympics. They returned to the world stage despite producing a lot of talents in this span of 20 years. They did not appear in the World Cups. After 1986, there was again a long absence, and they returned to the world stage in 2002, where basically Luis Figo was leading from the front, and that was the start of the golden generation of Portugal's national level football. But sadly, in 2002, they made a group stage exit. The build up to the World Cup was huge, but the performance was really subpar. 2006 was way better. Luis Felipe Scolari, he basically led the team to a 4th place finish. They eventually lost out to France, but their performance was way better, and this was their best performance at the World Cup since 1966. Ronaldo, that would be the final World Cup, but he returned in the 2026 World Cup. Again, their route was still the round of 16. again beaten by Spain. So, despite having a stellar squad, a squad full of champions rather, this team of 2026, after a couple of decades, why have they underperformed? That is the biggest question that needs to be asked. You have Ruben Diaz, you have Nuno Mendes, you have Vitinha, you have Bruno Fernandes. All of these players are champions. Bruno Fernandes was the best player of Premier League the last season. Even having all of these players, what is the meaning of having such a gifted midfield, such a technically gifted midfield, when the team, or rather the players, can't be used to their fullest extent? I think the main issue lies with the manager, Roberto Martinez. He could not use his midfield to the fullest extent. Ruben Diaz, Champions League winner, Premier League winner with Man City. Nuno Mendes, Champions League winner with PSG, the best left back in the world right now. Vitinha, the main playmaker of PSG, winner of Champions League with them. Bernardo Silva, winner of Champions League, winner of Premier League with Man City. Bruno Fernandes, the best Premier League player of the season last season. All of these players are champions. If they cannot be used to their fullest extent, the problem lies with the coach or the manager of the team. He is too dependent on Cristiano Ronaldo to pull Portugal out of their depths and into as far as possible into the tournament. That does not happen because the man is in his 40s. He is 41 years of age. You can't expect CR7 to be at the top of his game, to run the channels, to be that dashing winger he was in his 20s and in his 30s. That will never happen. You have to build the team around someone else or make the team so capable that their entire performance, every single person, every single player in the team steps up and takes the team to the next level. Roberto Martinez has failed in this aspect. He neither built a team in which every single player used to step up. That did not happen. And neither he built a team around one or two players in the midfield who can basically win midfield battles against any team. In the group stages, they lost to Congo because of the poor midfield show that they put up. Their only good performance in the World Cup was against Uzbekistan. They put up a 5-0 show against Uzbekistan only because they were the weakest team in their group. If Portugal's midfield was good enough in this World Cup, if they performed to their level, if they performed at the level they were supposed to, they would have beat Congo easily. They would have topped their group and they wouldn't have to face Spain in the round of 16, and they could have gotten or gone deeper into the tournament, at least till the quarters or even better the semifinals. We have seen the last dance narrative play for a number of players in the World Cup. For CR7, this was definitely his last World Cup. But the sport is cruel. It does not care if it is your first World Cup, if you're making a debut, if it's your last World Cup. The sport simply does not care. On that day, you have to be the best, your team has to be the best, and you have to win the match. If you cannot win, it does not matter if it's your first dance or if it's your last dance. Sports at the highest level is that cruel. My overall rating for the Portugal squad of World Cup 2026 is a 6 out of a 10. They were far from their best, nowhere near to their best, and their manager, Roberto Martinez, his tenure with the Portugal squad has ended. Now we have a new manager, George Jesus. It would be a great thing to see what he can do for the squad, how far he can take the squad in the upcoming Euros 2028 and the next World Cup 2030. But the preparation for that next World Cup has to start now. For me, Portugal and George Jesus, they need to see beyond Cristiano Ronaldo. The team has to be built around players in groups. There has to be a leader in the backline, there has to be a leader in the midfield. It can be Ruben Diaz or it can be Nuno Mendes, whoever it is. There has to be someone around which the backline is built. There has to be someone around whom the midfield is built. In the midfield, it can be Bruno Hernandez, it can be Vitinha, doesn't matter. But that particular leader in those pockets, they will basically drive the team forward. That has to be the motto for Portugal going forward for Euro 28 and for World Cup 2030. My overall rating for the Portugal squad of World Cup 2026 is a 6 out of a 10. They were far from their best, nowhere near to their best,